How's it going, everybody, and welcome to the TRF On Deck podcast. I'm super excited for y'all to join the podcasting journey with me. You know, this podcast is going to be used to tell the stories of people who are using their gifts for good, both in and out of the fishing industry. Episode 1, the pilot, my guest is my fiance, Hannah Gosser, so I'm super excited for y'all to jump in with us and hear the story of our relationship and how God has blessed us so much. Hopefully y'all enjoy, and welcome to On Deck. Podcast has started. How do you feel?
I feel good. How do you feel?
I feel amazing.
Good.
Good. Well, everybody, thank you. I don't know why I thank you. I mean, of course, thanks for watching. But welcome to the On Deck podcast. I'm your boy, TRF, and this is my fiance, Hannah. We'll introduce here in a second. But I had people tell me to start a podcast 2 years ago, and I didn't do it. And I was dumb, and I should have made one earlier, but, you know, everybody falls down sometimes.
Everybody falls
down sometimes. We're big into surfaces lately, the band. But I want to start one now. And so as you guys saw from the intro there, On Deck Podcast is all about having people on my podcast that are using their gifts for good. So whether it's a religious concept, whether it's fishing, whatever it is, that's what this podcast is going to be all about. It is not just a fishing podcast, so I'm going to try to keep it as broad as possible. And that's why I'm bringing this guest on today. One of the coolest people in my life, my fiance, Hannah Gosser. So welcome, Hannah, to the podcast.
Yay!
Glad to have you here. Before we begin talking about our relationship, we're going to talk about dating. We're going to talk about long distance, what college life is like, any dating tips we have, and kind of tell our story of our relationship, which is going to, I was going to say it's going to end. No, it's going to take a different step January 2nd into marriage.
Yes.
Which I'm super pumped about.
It's going to be the opposite of end.
Yes, the opposite of end. It's going to practically begin. So we're getting married in January. Super cool. But the TRF podcast has several different avenues of which you can listen and watch. So if you're listening right now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, that's going to be the audio version. The video version is going to be available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, TylersReelFishing. This one, though, episode 1, the pilot, is going to be the only one that's actually available, at least to my knowledge so far, the only one available on video for everybody to watch. So this will be on my YouTube channel, TylersReelFishing, for everybody on the channel to watch. But the rest of them will be available on my private subscription on YouTube. So if you go to my channel, you can see you can subscribe, and then you can join. And by joining, you are paying the lowest I could possibly make it, $1.99 a month, to get 2 video versions of the podcast. And I would highly recommend you all do that. I'm not trying to make a whole lot of money here. That's why I made it the cheapest YouTube would allow. I just want you guys to be able to see the interactions between me and my guests here on the podcast. I already have several filmed. We're just filming this one to put out as the first one because you guys are super excited about our relationship, which means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And we do not have headsets on for podcasts because it broke. We started recording this and then my mic cut out. So we got little on-body microphones here, and hopefully the audio works. So you know what? Apologize if it's not super crispy. If you can hear people running by in the background, we'll tell you all where we are here in a few minutes. But Hannah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yes,
it's good to be on here.
It is good to have you on here. So how long have we been dating?
We have been dating for almost 2 years now. Like a year and like 10 months. In September, we'll have been dating for 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
And then marriage.
And then marriage.
Soon after that.
And then marriage soon after that, in January.
Very
January
excited.
2nd.
January 2nd, we're not telling y'all where. I mean, it's in Dallas. We're not telling you where, because you're going to come crash our wedding. And we don't want that. No wedding crashers. But we had some questions submitted to my Instagram. So if y'all don't follow me on Instagram, it's TylersReelFishing. Cool community we're building over there. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is our relationship in general. How did it start? How did we meet?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting story, and so y'all are going to want to stay tuned for this one.
A lot of weird connections.
A lot of weird connections. And we might as well get this out of here. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. He saved me.
And I'm also a believer in Jesus Christ.
And so we believe that a lot of things in our relationship have been God ordained and wouldn't have happened without him setting it up. And so, pretty crazy. I mean, you could just call it coincidence if you wanted to. We just call it divine intervention.
Yeah.
But how should we start this?
I don't know. You start it, because it It started with Tyler meeting my best friend, Brooke,
yes.
at Passion.
Okay, so Passion Conference is a big Christian youth conference for anybody from 18 to 25 years of age. And usually they're kind of all around the country, split apart. But this year, actually, it was split apart. Yeah, it was 2 in Atlanta, 2 campuses in Atlanta of Passion, and 1 in Washington, D.C. And so I went to the bigger one in Atlanta. There was 20,000 or so students in, was then State Farm Arena. And we just kind of gathered together, and Passion is cool because Louis Giglio, the pastor there, God has given him a cool mission to like bring college students together and then send them out to their campuses to be good representations of Christ. And so the pastor, Louis, or maybe Brad, one of the associate guys, was like, anybody here from Texas? And so of course we drove from Texas to Atlanta. So I raised my hand, and the 2 buddies that I was with raised their hands, and we all go crazy because Texas is the best, obviously. And there were some girls behind us that had also raised their hands, and they were from Texas. They were like 3 rows back. And in my mind, I'm always like, oh, cool, Texas people. But I'm not the type of dude that's going to go find those girls and talk to them because I like fish, you know. Like at that point in my life, I really wasn't focused on trying to find a wife, but the 2 guys with me were. So we went up there, talked, and got to know them really well. It was Ellie, Brooke,
and their friend.
Oh no. Maddie. Yes. Maddie goes to Tech.
Maddie goes to Tech. I met Maddie once.
Yes, I've only met her at Passion as well.
But Brooke is one of my best friends. I've known her since freshman year of college. And I didn't go with her to Passion this year because I was a Pi Beta Phi at Baylor University, and we were having Rush in January, the time that Passion was going on.
Yeah.
So I wasn't with her that year, but I remember whenever she was at Passion, she would tell us all about it and this big group of people that she was with. And I remember seeing Tyler in some of the pictures that they were hanging out, and I was like, oh, who's that guy? Like, he's cute. But I didn't think a whole lot about it just because I didn't know him, and I just remember seeing him in those pictures
from
hanging
Passion.
out with Brooke from Passion.
Yes.
So that was like, I kind of knew of him, and Brooke and Tyler kind of became friends, and Ellie too.
And Ellie as well.
So it was really cool how they got to meet in Atlanta, and
Atlanta.
Out of all those thousands of people, they happened to be sitting next to each other, and then became friends. So later.
Well, so I mean, I was hanging out with them at both at Passion and after. Not a whole lot after, but then I took Brooke, her best friend, to a formal, which is a dance, for my fraternity, I guess you could call it. And Brooke and I had a really good time. There was no like, at least I don't think from her end, but from my end there was no like, I don't want to pursue a relationship with her. She was just the only like cool girl that I knew because I met her at Passion, and she was like, I don't have many girlfriends.
She is a cool girl.
She's cool, and so I just didn't have many girlfriends per se. 2 words. Not 1. And so I was like, hey, want to go to the formal? Sure. And kind of around that time, I thought to myself, because I had seen, of course, I'm a social media guru. You guys know I love social media. And so I had stalked a lot of the people that comment and like Brooke and Ellie's photos, and I saw Hannah, because she was one of their roommates. They like just moved in together.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's really cute. And again, though, much like you, I didn't think we were ever going to meet.
Yeah.
Because I don't, so the girls that we met, Brooke at least goes to Baylor, or went to Baylor, and I went to A&M. So even though we're only an hour and a half apart from Waco to College Station, Texas, I just never really thought that I'd hang out there. Besides the formal, I didn't really have a reason to think that. So I was crushing on you from social media, from Instagram.
So I remember when Brooke went to your formal, something got brought up saying...
Oh! Yeah, so me and Brooke were driving in the car, and we just both mentioned we want to date somebody, and Brooke was like, well, if you want to date a Baylor girl, I got plenty of friends. I can get you a contact. And I was like thinking to myself, okay, and I told her, I was like, I might take you up on that someday. in my head thinking, her roommate's really cute, maybe one day I can work up the courage to tell her, introduce me to your roommate, I want to meet her. Fast forward to the summer.
I worked at Pine Cove Christian Camp in Tyler, Texas. We both grew up going to that camp.
Exactly.
And so I worked at the camp called Timbers for 8th and 9th graders.
And I worked at the camp called Ranch for 6th and 7th, so continuous grades. So they go to my camp first for 2 years, 2 summers, then they go to Hannah's camp for 2 summers. So I had worked at Pine Cove the summers of 2016, 2017, and she was working there summer of 2018.
Yeah.
And so tell the story of your campers.
So I had campers this one week who had been to Ranch the previous year when Tyler was working at camp. So I had 8th graders who came from the 7th grade camp.
Yeah.
So I had one camper. We were all sitting around in a circle eating lunch on the first day. And one of my campers is just talking generally to the campers. They're like, oh, do you guys remember that counselor TylersReelFishing from Ranch? He was so cute, and I wanted him to walk me in on nice night.
So it's just a cool night to kind of like cotillion, I guess you could say, for young kids.
Yeah, and it's just like a little celebration.
So your girls in your cabin wanted me to walk them in.
Yes, because they thought he was so cute.
Aww.
And so I knew who he was. I was like, oh, that's funny. TylersReelFishing. Like, my friend just went live with him not that long ago. They met at Passion. Like, I know who that is. I didn't even know he worked at camp. And so after camp was over that week, I texted my friend Brooke, and I was like, oh, the funniest thing happened while I was at camp. My campers talked about your friend TylersReelFishing. So Brooke screenshotted my text and sent it to Tyler and was like, hey, my friend said that her campers were talking about you and thought they were so cute, thought you were cute. And then later, he DM'd me on Instagram.
So I got that text, and I was thinking, for a while, I was wanting a reason to message her on Instagram, but besides the few mutual friends we had, I didn't have a reason to, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not the type of guy that goes out there and just messages girls.
Yeah.
And so I wanted a reason, and finally I was fishing on Lake of the Woods in Canada with my buddy Marcel and Cole Forsyth. Y'all have seen them both on the channel. And I got the text from Brooke that had the screenshot of her talking about me. And I was like, yes, I have something to do to start this relationship. And so I messaged her on July 4th, 2018. And I was like, hey, heard your campers wanted me to walk them in. Like, Hope Pine Cove was really fun, or something like that. And it started the conversation. What did you think when I first messaged you?
I was kind of like hesitant just because I was like, oh no, like this guy just DM'd me and I feel like he's just DMs a bunch of girls and it sounds like he's kind of flirting with me. Yeah. And I just didn't know if he was like, I didn't know what he was doing. And so I was kind of nervous. At first I didn't open it for a little while because I didn't know how to respond. Yeah. Just because I didn't know him and he didn't follow me. So I was like, like this is kind of weird. Not weird. But I was like, I don't know how to respond to this. Is he the guy who just like flirts with a bunch of girls on Instagram, or is he? Little do
you know, I was the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, and you are.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was really interesting, and so I was on my way to Florida when I got that,
with
and
your
so
family.
we started kind of talking through there just a little bit.
Every like 3 days we message each other, and then I don't know, the conversation went well. I friended her on Facebook, and I don't know, we just kind of kept talking.
Yeah.
And fast forward a little bit to the end of the summer, 2018. Yeah. Sorry if this story is long. This is it's a lot of cool things. Actually, wait, rewind. Back to Pine Cove. When she was a counselor, I went to visit my friends during closing day. So like there's a day in between the weeks of camp. And I went to closing day to visit my ranch friends that were still at the Pine Cove Ranch. And I pulled out of the ranch to go back to the Skeeter Owners Tournament that I took a day off from. And I almost hit a white Lexus. Like I was on my phone or something, and I almost hit a white Lexus that was pulling down the main Pine Cove Road. And I pull out behind the Lexus after I slammed into my brakes, and it had a Pi-Fi sticker on the back of the car, and the girl driving the car was wearing the Pine Cove Timber shirt. So I was like, there's no way that's Hannah. So on my phone, as I was driving, don't do this kids, but I did because I was not flirting, I was stalking. I went back to Hannah's Instagram, all the way back, because most girls post when they get their first car. And I basic. And I saw that she had the exact same white Lexus, and I was like, that's her. I'm gonna meet her one day. I hope so. And that was like a month before I even messaged you.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of cool coincidence there.
Yeah.
I almost
also you've told me this where like you said that you were talking on the phone to a friend one time. Y'all were just talking about potential relationships.
Oh yeah, I literally was on the drive to Minnesota before I even got the text, when I told my friend Mitch, I was like, this girl Hannah's really cute. Probably never meet her, but if I do, I'm totally gonna try to date her. 'cause she just seemed super cute. So that's kind of the whole thing. So let's just fast forward, end of the summer. I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm messaging Hannah. I think we're Snapchat friends, maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know. No, we weren't yet. Because I was going on a trip with my friend Brooke, Ellie, and my friend Lindsay. And we were going to Colorado. And I had told Lindsay that TylersReelFishing was messaging me on Instagram. And then I thought he was kind of cute. But they were like, really? Like, he's messaging you? He must like you. And I was like, no, I will never meet this guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's really cute and he seems really sweet. And so then Lindsay went off and told Brooke and Ellie. And Brooke and Ellie had known Tyler from Passion. They were all good friends and kind of messaged and they were Snapchatting. So throughout that trip, they were kind of sending Tyler little Snapchats of me and just, I guess, kind of hinting that I thought he was cute.
Yeah.
Not that I was like, no, guys, like, we'll never meet. Like, it's not going to happen. But they just kept, sending him little things like, I don't know, It
was just random pictures of her.
Yeah.
So, like, I would Snapchat Brooke, and she would send me a picture of Hannah. And I was like, okay, usually you send pictures of each other. She sent a picture of Hannah. I Snapchat, whatever, Ellie. She would send a picture of Hannah. So I was like, something's going on here. And then also at this kind of the same time, Instagram had an algorithm. She denies it to the day she dies. I think it's real. Instagram's algorithm at that time on stories, when you'd swipe up, it would show the people that most interacted with your profile and the people that you most interacted with. And every single person at the top of who had viewed my stories Hannah was number one, up there on the top, and then a bunch of other girls that I didn't even follow, like high school and college age girls on that list. And so I did not interact with their profiles at all. I was stalking her.
I was stalking you too.
She was stalking me too. And I was like, okay.
It could have been both ways.
It could have been both ways. Either way, every time I swiped up to see who viewed my story on Instagram, she was the number one. And I was like, okay, maybe she's into me. So I text Brooke, because I was getting impatient, and I was like, hey, I don't know why, I've just been feeling that Hannah might be into me. And Brooke was like, I'm sorry.
She was like, we can get y'all to meet. Like, we really can. I can get y'all to date. Like, I'll make this happen. I was like, guys, no. Like, I don't know. I don't know him. They're like, we can get you to meet. We'll go to A&M. We'll go to Breakaway. And I was like, I don't know. And then, of course, like, I'm not going to be like, yeah, do it. Like, let's.
Because you're not that type of girl either.
Yeah, I'm not, I guess, a straight for.
Yeah, you're not a straight flirt.
Shy.
No, yeah, you're kind of shy.
And so I was like, no. And they're like, are you sure? I was like, I think he's cute, but I don't think I'll ever meet him. And so they took that as, we shouldn't have been pushing this so hard. And I shouldn't have messaged him, been sending him all these hints. Hannah probably doesn't like that. And so Tyler texted Brooke and was like,
is Hannah into me?
Is Hannah into me?
And she said no.
And she was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to send you all those stuff.
And then I was confused because I was like, all the signs are lining up that she's into me. It's like, okay. And then like 3 days later, Brooke texts me out of the blue and just says, so, what do you think about Hannah? And I said, yes, so she might be into me. So I said, and I think you still have the text somewhere.
Yeah.
I said something like, I don't know.
Oh, it was so sweet.
All of you guys are great Christian girls, and, I want to pursue a woman that loves Jesus. And from what I see on social media and who y'all have picked as a friend in Hannah, it seems like she is the type of girl that I would want to pursue. And they showed that to Hannah.
Yeah.
And we
Unknowingly.
So I didn't know that. And so then
So they messaged you because later they had told me, they didn't tell me until a few days later that you had texted them saying, oh, does Hannah like me? And I was like, wait, he said that? Maybe he does like me.
Okay.
I kind of like this. This is kind of sweet.
So it was just like playing hard to get and being confused, flirting, whatever.
Just kind of nervous.
Through friends.
Yeah.
And then eventually Brooke was like, okay, y'all are going to meet. You both like each other, kind of. And so they drove down to Breakaway, which is a huge Bible study at the campus of Texas A&M where I went to school. And on Tuesday night, the first Tuesday of the semester in the fall of 2018.
We met up at a Cane's.
Met up at Raising Cane's Chicken. We sat next to each other at Cane's.
Yep.
Then we went to Breakaway. We sat next to each other at Breakaway.
It was so funny because our friends were just kind of like making us sit next to each other. And it was kind of like awkward. I wouldn't say awkward. It wasn't awkward. It was just like, oh no, this is so obvious.
Yeah, I know.
That like we've been talking about this
for
and that
a while.
we like kind of like each other, but like haven't met, but we think each other is like cute.
Yeah.
And it was just so funny.
it just so many cool little God moments and ways that we felt that I had never felt really before about a girl. And we met and it went well, and they forced us to drive to Whataburger together, and we had good conversations. And then later that night, awkwardly, in front of everybody, I asked her for a number, because I had not asked her for it. I had messaged her on Instagram, but I didn't ask for her number. Because I don't want to be forward with a girl unless there's a for sure possibility of it going somewhere, because I don't want to hurt feelings. I don't want to break hearts, because I'm just a heartbreaker.
Oh, I know.
And so once I found out that she thought I was, I mean, we clicked, you can tell. I don't know. If you've ever dated somebody, you know what it feels like. And it worked out, so I asked her for a number, and then I called her the next day, because that's what you should do.
Well, first you texted me and said, hey, can I call you?
Oh, I said, hey, can I call? I had a great time last night. Can I call you? So she expects a call, and she said yes. So I had my notes written up, and I literally was on speakerphone, and I was like, I really had a good time, and I kind of like pretended to stumble through it, but I was totally reading. I said, hey, can I take you on a date? I use the word date. It's not hang out. It's not can we go to dinner. It's I want to take you on a date. So there's no confusion. And she said yes. So I drove to Waco an hour and a half, took her on a date. It went well. We had ice cream and dinner. He had it all
planned out, didn't tell me about anything.
We sat on a little perch in Waco, an illegal perch on the river, and watched the sunset. And then had ice cream and went to Texas Roadhouse. Just a good meal and good date.
It was so fun.
It went well, so I said, can I call you again? And she said yes.
And so the next day he called me again, and he asked me on another date. And then we went on another great date. And then after that date, he said, can I call you again? And we did. And then on our third date, after he drove down the third time.
3 weekends in a row, I drove to Waco.
He asked me to be his girlfriend then. And it was so sweet. It was just so cool how you were so, what's the word? Like intentional, open, honest, said what you meant. You're just very like, can I take you on a date? It wasn't, can we hang out? Like, you would always tell me like, I like you, I think you're a great girl, like I want to keep getting to know you more. And you would call me on the phone, you wouldn't text me. And I just thought it was so sweet and intentional. And our conversations on our dates were always so, like, centered around Christ. Like, all of our conversations was like, oh, like, what have you been learning in the Word lately? And like, have you seen Christ move in your life? And we talked a lot about camp, and it was just so cool how like we also were on the same page on like so many things, on like pretty much everything.
Exactly. So we'll talk about that for sure. I agree. The dates went well. There was no like awkward moments because so I mean, I guess we can talk about but what made us attracted to each other. And so I'm gonna open up my Google Doc. You can open up yours as well. So we're gonna have a few. That's our story. Then we started dating, and now we're engaged. If you missed the engagement video, you can click down in the description. And also, if you're listening to the podcast audio version, you just search TylersReelFishing engagement on YouTube, and you'll find it. Let's see. Where's the tip that I'm looking for? Challenges. The first thing that attracted me to her was, of course, she's beautiful. That has to be there. Like you have to have some kind of physical attraction to the person, or else you're not going to enjoy spending any time around them because you're going to be looking at them for years. So I like looking at you.
It was initially that, I thought you were so cute.
And then it was somewhere in Scripture it talks about that their name or their character smells good.
Like before I met you, I started like watching some of his YouTube videos and just seeing the way that he prayed before his tournaments and just the way he interacted with people, his confidence, his kindness. I could just tell like in everything that he did that he was like just pointing it all back to the Lord, and that was so attractive to me. And I thought that was really cool.
And I could tell because I knew Brooke and Ellie were good people and were good, amazing Christian girls involved in young life, that they probably wouldn't pick a bad friend that's not like them. And so I in Pine Cove camps doesn't hire bad staff. They just don't.
They don't. There's so many good people.
So many people that get rejected from Pine Cove too that are good people, good Christian people. So if Pine Cove hired Hannah as a counselor to watch over kids, I was like, okay, her character is probably there as well, more than your average bear. And so that worked out two ways because Baylor Bear. Sorry.
Oh wow! Look at that.
And so I could just tell before I even met her that she was a girl that's probably worth going on a date with. And after our conversations, we're so focused around Christ, so much joy. I felt like I could be myself around her. Like I rapped in the car to Andy Mineo on our first date. So like, and I'm a confident guy as is, but I just felt like I could be myself around her. Yeah. And I think I hope I made you feel the same way.
You definitely did.
Good. And so that's kind of what we looked for. Now, of course, I look for a Proverbs 31 woman. Proverbs 31 is filled with qualities that you want to look for in a woman. And speaking about what we looked for, we're looking for marriage.
Yeah.
I never dated anybody besides little flings here and there in high school and college, and Hannah only dated one person.
Yeah.
And so I knew that if I'm going to spend my time, which I think time is incredibly valuable. Yeah. We only have 80-something years average here on earth. I was running a full-time business in college. My time was really valuable. So if I'm going to spend my time that I love so much on a girl, I want it to not be a waste. And I saw Hannah as a girl that's not a waste of time. She is it's not just a fun thing that I do. It's not just a girl I want to go kiss and do fun things with. Yeah. She was a girl that especially after the first few dates, that I want to spend the rest of my life with, or at least has the potential to spend the rest of our life with. Yeah. Because you don't know right away. Right. You see a lot of qualities that you think, this could be a wife. Right. And so I want to keep pursuing. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to be clear. If you guys have not read Ben Stewart's book, Single, Dating, Engaged, Married, I watched Ben's sermons on dating since I was like 13 years old, before I even hit puberty, so I didn't even know what dating was, but I watched them. And that's why I learned a lot of the ways to be intentional and use my words and call people on the phone or call Hannah on the phone.
Yeah, he was so respectful of me and of my time also. And it was just so cool how like he came up into this with the same ideas that I did, and that we are dating for marriage. Yeah. And we need to be intentional with our time that we have together. Yeah.
I guess we'll go over, we did long distance for almost our entire relationship. So when we started dating, I was beginning my senior year at Texas A&M.
And I was beginning my junior year at Baylor.
And so we were an hour and a half apart, which is not bad. It's really not. If you get in a relationship with a girl that's an hour and a half, 2-3 hours away, just do it.
If you're dating for marriage and you want to be intentional with your time and you're dating someone who you can see yourself marrying, that time that you spend driving and spending, with them is going to be worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. But speaking of time, when you have school 5 days a week, and I had fishing tournaments on the weekends and having to make videos, and she had sorority stuff, and she was an Awana,
I was an Awana
volunteer, and she went to church. So like we had busy lives apart from each other, but we both saw the relationship as beneficial and valuable. Worth it. So we wanted to display that with how we spent our time. So the difference between long distance and close distance is that you have a lot less time together when you're long distance, especially when you only see each other once every week or 2 weeks. We made it every week or 2 weeks that I would drive up to Waco or she would drive down to College Station. Yeah. And so talk about kind of like what we did with that day or day and a half that we would have together every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Usually we would pretty much have it planned out. We didn't have anything where we were like, well, we don't really know what to do. We're just going to hang around, sit on the couch. We kind of were very intentional with our time. So like whenever we were there, he would take me around campus. We would go on walks. We would play games. What else did we do?
We'd watch the sunset. We would throw the Frisbee. I mean, like she said, there was no, all right, what do you want to do today? Yeah. I mean, there was a few of that. Yeah. Over 2 years of dating, you're going to have some of that. Yeah. But most of the time, I wanted to make sure that any time we spent together was full of conversations that asked the real life questions, because I'm not about to waste my time asking dumb questions and having dumb conversations.
Because we also didn't have much time to spend together in person.
Exactly.
So we were very, I keep saying intentional, but very intentional with our time. Like the times that we spent together weren't on our phones. Yeah. It was doing things, like dating.
It was dating.
Yes.
And especially when we're in meals together, we're not on our phones. We were talking about life. I was making sure to ask about her family.
And I was making sure to ask about him and the things that he believes in. And just, it was a good time.
It was a great time. I loved dating. Long distance was fun. But we're going to have a few long distance tips. So I'm gonna let's pull up the doc here. Let's see, where is long distance? There we go. Long distance. What is long distance like? So it definitely stinks. Because
it does.
I wanted to see her all the time. I'm assuming you wanted to see me.
I wanted to see you all the time.
and especially with FaceTime, it's made it amazing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. FaceTime and phone calls, do them all the time, as much as you can. And so, but it definitely stinks. You could say, in terms of an excuse for not wanting to do long distance, so we're still in college, or I'm not ready for a relationship. But if you feel like God is calling you to somebody, just do it. Because it's worth it, definitely, for sure. The biggest thing, though, is communicating. Huge. Like, you have to make them, for long distance, you got to make them feel like a part of your life.
Yes.
Even though you don't see them for a week, 2 weeks, however long your long distance is.
Yes. Okay, that's what,
Yeah, you have to make sure that they feel included in your life. So just telling her, hey, I'm going to the grocery store, or calling randomly, hey, I'm doing this. And
just making each other feel like involved in each other's lives.
Because when you're close to each other, you know, hey, he told me he's going to practice or he's doing whatever, and so you're expecting that they're finished. But if you don't text them all day, they're wondering, does he like me? Does he want me to know where he's at? What is he doing? Is he hanging out with somebody else? So there's so much bad things that can go, around in your mind.
When you don't communicate.
Exactly.
And there's this silence that goes on where you're like, I don't know what he's doing. Like, but that was so good to have with us, in that we were always communicating. We always knew, we wanted to be involved in each other's lives, even when we were an hour and 30 minutes away. And at separate schools doing so many different things, we were able to continue our relationship through FaceTime and phone calls.
Exactly.
And then whenever we got to be together, we were so intentional with that time, which I thought was really sweet and made me like long distance.
I know.
But I didn't like it because I would have loved to spend even more time with you.
Yeah.
But also it allowed us to focus on what we needed to do and the places that we were at in that time.
Yeah.
And also allow us to be more intentional when we were together.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Communication's huge in any relationship, but especially long distance. The other thing is you have to be willing to make sacrifices. So when you're together, it can just kind of feel like that person is always a part of your life. And we always hang out, we always have dinner. But when you're used to, especially for me, I'm just speaking for myself here.
Yeah.
When I'm used to spending every night making my own dinner and not having to include somebody else, to have someone else come into your life, even if you care about them and think they're really cute, like I did with Hannah, it was hard to I'm a selfish guy. She just says that I'm not, but I'm pretty dang selfish. So it was hard for me to want to take my time and give it to her, even though it's my time. I want the time. But because I liked her a lot, I wanted to be able to make that sacrifice, drive the hour and a half, pay the gas to get there, because she was worth it to me. So you have to be willing to make sacrifices. And
you've gotten so much better.
Have I?
Yes, you really have. I think at the beginning we had a couple of moments where it was like, hey, I didn't feel very loved in this way. And then the thing that's so great about Tyler is that if I'm ever upset or, we had, I don't know, how do I put this? We don't really fight.
We don't fight at all.
We don't. But we have times where we get frustrated or disappointed. And in those moments, we're able to talk to each other. And with Tyler, anytime I'm upset about something, he's always like, let me listen to what you have to say. Nothing you say is dumb or not valid. And he always affirms me in how I feel and is always willing to say, how can I love you better? Let me change that action that I did before. And it's just to see the way that Tyler has become so much more selfless in our relationship. Not that he was selfish in the beginning, but just the way
I was selfish.
You were not.
Yeah, I was.
No, the way that you have loved me better as time has gone on, and just the way that you've cared for me, is just so reflective of Christ. In that, Christ never leaves us when we're upset. He's always willing, and he's always going to stay there and listen to whatever thing that you have going on, and he's not going to leave. But and that's the same thing with you. You're never upset. You never get mad. You're always willing to listen.
Aww.
And I just think it's so cool. You have so many qualities that are just so reflective of who Christ is, and I think that's something that's so attractive to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's really
And I feel the same way about you. Hannah is just so kind to everybody and so patient with me when I'm out fishing and don't text her for 6 hours. Or I decide to go traveling to New York for 2 weeks and then Michigan and then Minnesota for 2.5 weeks. She's like so patient and loving and supports this channel. She supports what I do. And I'm going to work my absolute rear end off to provide for her and our family in the future. But she loves my dream to have a fishing channel, and I don't know, he's
so motivated and just is so confident at everything he does and just excels at everything.
Aww.
So he could do anything he puts his mind to.
I put in my mind
you
too.
You put in your mind too. But
yeah, and
yeah.
I just love you so much.
I love you too.
Y'all might see me on YouTube as this, macho. Actually, I'm not a macho. Get it? No.
You are a softie.
I'm a softie. I love teaching people how to fish and catching big old chunguses, but I'm a softie. I love Hannah. And the last thing that in terms of long distance, and maybe this is just relationships in general, is that if you're going to date somebody for the intent of marriage, you have to trust them. Like a supreme trust. Because especially when I don't see her for 2 weeks, and I know how smoking hot she is. And I know there's probably other guys at Baylor where she goes to school that probably would love to get with her. I had to trust. She wants me. She wants to date me and not date anybody else. And when I'm not there, and we didn't share location for a while, like I had to, on our phones, I had to trust that she wasn't, going out there and doing bad stuff.
Yeah.
And you had to trust me as well.
Oh, yeah. You are the most trustworthy man ever.
Thank you.
There's nothing that I wouldn't trust you with.
Aww.
Just your track record, everything. It's just, you're just trustworthy.
Yeah, and so that's really important in relationships.
Yeah.
If you get in a relationship with a girl or a guy, whoever's watching this, and you can't trust them, I would say just get out.
Yeah.
It's not worth your time, because your mind's going to be racing in all sorts of places, and you'd hate to get into marriage and realize you married someone who doesn't have your best in mind, who doesn't want the best for you, who doesn't care for you. And I know that Hannah cared for me, so that was worth it to spend the 2 weeks apart that stunk. But it was definitely so worth it.
You were so open about everything. I think that's another reason why I could trust you.
That I couldn't hold anything.
Yeah.
I have a hard time holding secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's besides our engagement, I held that secret pretty well.
Kinda.
Okay, well, we had some extraneous circumstances that made it hard to hold the secret, but
yeah.
And then also a huge thing that was big on our first date. I asked her on the first date, because this is really important to me, is I asked her, does she drink? And by drink, I mean drink alcohol. And probably even shouldn't mention alcohol. I'm going to get demonetized. Whatever. The A word.
You get demonetized?
I don't know. Maybe you get demonetized. But
okay.
I asked because we're both believers in Jesus, and the Bible speaks very strongly on alcohol. It doesn't speak that drinking itself is a sin, but a lot of activities that happen when you get drunk and when you drink, they are sins, and it is a sin itself to get drunk, to drink to the extent that your body is altered and your mind is altered. And I guess drunk is different for everybody. But I asked her, does she drink? Because I could see myself marrying somebody that enjoys a glass of wine every once in a while. But if she was the type of girl that went out and partied and, gets drunk, that makes the trust a little bit lower. It makes it harder to trust. And she answered that she doesn't drink and her parents don't drink. And to me, that was oh, wow, a sigh of relief. I don't drink and my parents don't drink. And I'm not trying to make anybody out there feel bad for drinking, because drinking itself is not a sin. It is just, to us, it was most beneficial, at least to me, that I wanted to date somebody and marry somebody that didn't drink. And in college, drinking can be a temptation for a lot of people. And so I just didn't want that trust to be hurt at all if Hannah was the type of girl that goes out and gets drunk all the time.
And same thing for me.
Yeah.
So that was really a sigh of relief for me also to hear that he didn't. Because drinking is such a prevalent thing in college these days.
Especially
and around.
in college, yeah.
And just so much abuse that goes around with it.
Yeah.
And there's so much sin that can be associated with it that to me, it's best to just leave that part out of your life, because one, it's not good for you.
Alcohol's not good for you.
It's just not good for you. And it's just, brings on a lot of pain in so many different people's lives.
Yeah.
And so, like, to hear that he didn't was also a sigh of relief for me.
You got like 2 times more attractive when I heard you didn't drink. I was like, oh my gosh, this is...
Not that it makes someone unattractive. Like...
I was spiritually more attracted to you.
Yeah.
Because we shared another thing. We shared, we're Christians. We shared that we worked at Pine Cove together. We shared that we were passionate about telling the gospel, and you, with you, Rowana, and me being public on social media.
And just knowing that in every part of our lives we wanted to love and serve the Lord and completely run from sin was really cool. And I think it's just so rare to come across someone who lines up so much with the gospel, or it's so rare to find someone who lines up so well with
the values you hold.
And just the way that, you know, pursuing Christ with everything.
Everything you have, And that's what we both had. And it was really, really
keeping
important.
a biblical worldview.
Exactly.
On both sides.
Yeah. So if y'all want if you're out there fuming with anger about alcohol's not a sin, well, it is. Ephesians 5:15, Romans 14, 13 through 19 are both good passages to tell. I guess for the Bible to tell you guys, you know, what the standard around alcohol is, but don't want to go into that a whole lot. And Grandma just came in. So I guess we'll talk about where we are real quick. We're recording this in my summer house here in Michigan. My family's had a summer house in Lake Michigan for a long time, so Hannah and I are spending the week here with my grandma, who just walked. You might see her in the back of the frame here in a minute. But we've had a good week together, spending time together. And so I guess we'll hop into our favorite memories with each other, just some kind of rapid fire. Our favorite memory with you is either the time we spent kayaking together in the river and you caught your new PB. That video is also linked below. Super fun time. And also this week has been full of great memories of us just
this week
hanging out.
It's everyone keeps asking us what our favorite memory is, and the most recent thing that happens just keeps popping up into my head.
Yeah.
So like this week has been so much fun, just getting to spend time together and go to the beach, and it's been really awesome. Exactly. But we have just so many sweet memories.
It's so much fun dating you.
It's so much fun.
Dating you is fun. I'm never going to stop dating her either.
No.
Even in marriage, I'm still going to take you on dates. Now, another question that we get is, was it love at first sight? Was it?
It was like at first sight.
It was like at first sight.
It was attraction at first sight. But I didn't start to love him until I got to know his heart.
Yeah.
And just know more about who he is. So like I was attracted to him at first sight, and I really liked him at first sight, but we didn't say I love you until like 6 months
in. Just because I know that word is so important. And people will throw the L word around are just dummies, in my opinion, because especially for girls, Anna's a words of affirmation girl, so she needs, words mean a lot to her, whether positive or negative. So if I was to tell her a month in I love you, she might be like, oh, he's a little quick, or maybe he's...
Like maybe he throws that around to a lot of other girls, but not that he like dated around a lot, but...
I didn't.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to make sure that we truly loved each other's character and everything before we said the word itself. So it was attraction at first sight.
Yeah.
But it wasn't love at first sight. I don't think that's possible. You know?
Yeah.
Love at first sight.
No. Maybe
love at first conversation. Maybe like the first conversation you can know.
Yeah.
But it was definitely not.
But I still continue to love you more.
Every day.
Yeah.
I love you more and more every day.
The more I get to know you.
Exactly.
I love you more.
Now, fishing. Of course, we got to talk about fishing a little bit in this podcast. So, were you a fisher girl before you dated me?
Not at all. I didn't even know that fishing was a thing. Well, I knew fishing was a thing, but like competitive fishing videos. And when he had first DM'd me on Instagram, I didn't really even know that he made fishing YouTube videos.
I had to explain that to her.
Yeah, I was like, so what do you do? And he's like, well, I make YouTube videos. And I was like, oh, I feel bad that I didn't know that, because he's got kind of a large following. And I was like, what does he have all these followers for? Yep. It's kind of interesting. And so he told me that. I was like, oh, I should watch some of his videos.
And so she did.
I did.
So you're not a fisher girl. Do you like fishing now?
I like fishing now because you like it, and I like doing things with you. And it's just been really fun. It's a fun way to spend time with you. I don't know if I like to fish like by myself. Okay. I like to fish with you.
Yeah.
But it is fun. I like
Catching fish is fun.
Catching fish is fun.
Do you like being out there more, or do you like actually reeling them in? What do you like more?
I like both.
Okay.
Being out there, and it's always so pretty on the lakes and everything, and I don't know.
You don't like going 70 miles an hour, though, with your hair?
No.
So she doesn't like, my Skeeter goes fast, and it's smooth. But
goes really fast.
She doesn't like the whole fast boat thing.
I like the leisure ride.
She likes leisure rides. So she loves kayak fishing. Kayak's her favorite.
Mm-hmm. I like boat fishing, too. You just go really fast.
I do go fast. I'm a fast boat driver. But she definitely enjoys fishing now, and I hope to continue to take her out more and more, and I hope to be able to take our kids out fishing and raise them in the outdoors. I really love the outdoors. And
it's fun.
It's a good time.
Yeah. You're so much fun.
You're so much fun. Now let's see. I guess kind of jumping, that was the little rapid fire questions. People ask, like, how long before you knew that Hannah was the one for you? And I don't think there was a specific moment for me. It was about 6 months. Of course, when I told her I loved her, that's when I knew I wanted to marry her. But to me, it was like, you can look at the notes right here, what you were going to talk about, H right there. For me, it's like, in every relationship, you're going to have these roadblocks that come up. So whether it's a conversation you have and you're like, ooh, she said something that either didn't sit well or that's not the way I was raised. You know, my family's different. We do Christmas different or whatever. Yeah. And so you think to yourself, is that just a roadblock that you can either you can either move or you can either jump over or whatever your analogy you want to use? Or is that a red flag that pops up that says, you may want to turn around, this relationship may not be for you, whatever reason it is. And of course, if you are a believer in Jesus and you're starting to date somebody and you find out that their character doesn't align with where you are, that you're not running the same race at the same pace going towards Christ, that is a red flag that you should probably not be in that relationship. And if you're watching this and you're not a Christian, you don't have to go under Christian morals and principles. I think they're best, because I've lived my life that way, and it's helped our relationship so much. There's not been really any fighting or strife. So I would highly recommend dating Christian people.
It's so full of joy.
So full of joy, and so full of trust.
Because that's the way
and forgiveness.
Life is meant to be lived.
Exactly.
You know?
But I just want to say, Hannah and I would get to these moments that we'd be like, okay, this stinks, whatever moment we're in.
Yeah.
But I would ask community around me, my roommates who were also Christians. I would ask my parents. I would ask friends. I would pray about it. I would see what Scripture says, and I'm sure you would do the same thing. And then it's like, okay, this is not a red flag. This was just a roadblock that we can push to the side. And of course, if it comes up again, then you're like, okay, maybe it wasn't a roadblock. Maybe it is a red flag. But to me, there was hardly ever anything that we couldn't immediately either look in Scripture or ask community about and pray about that wasn't a roadblock, that was a red flag. There's no red flags in this relationship.
Yeah, all the hills to die on.
Yes,
as you said, are the same. Like,
exactly.
We don't really have any hills to die on.
No, we have the same hills.
We have the same hills.
We're probably gonna die on the same hills one day.
One day.
We'll be buried in the same hill. But what did you have to say about that?
But to know that you were the one is like, it was like everything, whenever hard things would come, it's the willingness to get through them together. And when we fall, we want to make things right. We want to mend things immediately. And
the Bible says to not let the sun go down while you are still angry.
Yeah.
So like, if I ever get in an argument with Hannah, I don't let myself go to sleep until we figure this thing out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so cool about Tyler, is that he's always willing to listen to me. And I'm not good at talking about times that I'm upset. And so I'll just kind of not want to talk about it, but he'll say, Hannah, I want to love you better. Please talk to me about what's going on so we can mend this immediately, because I want to love you better.
Exactly.
And just the way that this relationship has been like a marathon, and that we're always wanting to keep running.
Yeah.
So.
I love it.
That was cheesy.
But you know what? It's real. Like, our relationship, oftentimes we're like, man, this is like a fairy tale. Like, this is, it doesn't always seem real, but I think it's because we're so aligned in Christ that there's nothing to fight about. Yeah. There's stuff that's like, hey, you hurt my feelings, or, my family does it differently. Yeah. But there's never a time when it's, I hate you. I don't want to talk to you right now. It's like, even if I'm upset, I still want to, I actually want to talk to you more, because I want to get over whatever this thing is that we're dealing with. Let's see, a few more things about our relationship. Now, of course, people are always asking, are you saving yourselves for marriage? Are you having the S word? I don't want to say that because I might get demonetized, but sex for marriage. We're saving that for marriage. So people ask us, like, how do you do that? When you're in love with somebody, you want to be physical with the person. And so we've just decided, especially with how it lines up with Scripture, people are like, the Bible doesn't say that doing that before marriage is a sin. It does say that. It says abstain from sexual immorality or any kind of impurity or greed, for these are not right for God's holy people. Mm-hmm. And so we interpret that to mean that, God has made that for marriage, that it binds a man and a woman together. And so we're saving that for marriage. Mm-hmm. And just some people want to know practical tips. Yeah. What are some practical tips that you got?
Staying busy.
Staying busy is definitely something. So, especially if you're long distance, you don't see each other for 2 weeks. You really want to kiss the person. You really want to, just hang out. And we made sure we're going to go outside. We're going to go to a restaurant. We're going to go on a walk in public. We're going to do things that we can't just sit inside together, cuddling for hours, because that is not a great place to set yourself up as. Yeah. So staying busy is good. We play games together. We play cards. Mm-hmm. We play, what's the board game? With the Sequence, very fun game that we like. Yeah. We're looking forward to in marriage, having even more time to play fun games and invite people over to play games. Doing group things is another big one. Yeah. Because you had a great group of friends.
Staying with other people who will keep you accountable.
Yeah, and another huge thing in terms of long distance is that when you're visiting somebody in a different town, it is so easy just to say, I'll just stay at your house. I'll stay at your house. I'll spend the night. Yeah. I'll be on the couch. Baloney.
Baloney.
I was going to say bull crap. I guess I'll say it. Bull crap. You are not doing that. You're going to end up being in that person's bed, and that's not a great place to be as well, to resist temptation. The Bible says flee from sexual immorality. And so in the process, the attempt to flee from that, to save it till marriage, I stayed at her brother's house in Waco, her twin brother.
Yeah. And I stayed at Tyler's roommate's girlfriend's house.
And another random girl.
Another girl who was so kind to let me stay at their house. And they were just so sweet to me and were supporting us in allowing us to stay pure in our relationship.
And so it's definitely difficult to have to ask people, can I stay at your house this weekend? Or last minute, hey, I'm coming up today. Are y'all in town? But trust me, if you have biblical community around you, they want to help you stay pure and continue to revolve your lives around the gospel. And so that was a hard thing. If you can say to yourself, me and my girlfriend, we can sleep in the same bed together, and it's not a place of temptation. Again, you are lying to yourself. And if that's the case, if you can sleep in the same bed with your girlfriend and you're not tempted in any way to go beyond just a nice simple hug, you probably shouldn't be dating that person, because obviously, I'm supremely attracted to Hannah. And so it's just best for us that we didn't do that. And I think, I can't speak for everybody, but I think I can in this scenario, that if you are pursuing a Christ-honoring relationship, you should not be sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah, fleeing it.
Because
I think it's going to be so much more worth it to know that you're married to that person and forever. And that is binding in your relationship.
Exactly.
And
yeah, and so both of us are saving that for marriage. Where's the line, people ask? Is the line at kissing? Is it at making out? Is it at whatever? The line is sex, and you should flee from that line. So there's no walking as close as
any form of sex.
Yeah, in any form. So the line is there, and the Bible says to flee from the line. So flee the best that you possibly can. And so the standard is pretty dang clear. You gotta flee from sexual immorality, and that is what we are doing to the best of our abilities. For people out there that have already gone beyond the biblical line, there is grace, there's forgiveness. All sins are equal under the eyes of God, and so if you have either as an individual in a past relationship gone beyond that line, there is grace for you. If you have any questions about more practical things, we don't want to get stumbled over our words or whatever on the podcast, but shoot me a DM on Instagram. Happy to help any of you guys.
We're also not perfect in any way.
No, we're not perfect. So if you see us in whether it's the physical stuff or it's arguing, whatever, like our relationship isn't perfect, but we are trying to live up to the standard that Christ has set for us by himself, and that is perfection. So there's grace for us in our relationship too, but I'm just pumped.
Me too.
To marry you.
I'm pumped to marry you.
Good grief. And that's another reason to wait, because there's no guilt when you get there. Like we know that night is going to be awesome.
You keep talking about the
I know I keep talking about the
on
night.
camera.
Am I allowed to?
I guess so.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to watch this before you put it out. I love you.
I love you too.
All right, so that's probably all we're talking about that. All right, the wedding, when's it coming?
January 2nd.
January 2nd.
Did we already talk about this?
We've talked about it, but we're getting married in Dallas. We're going to have a fun time. Hopefully COVID is, settling down by then so we can have all of our friends there. It'll be a good time. We got some food. We got some music. We got some dancing.
We're going to have a fun time.
And then honeymoon. People ask where we're going on our honeymoon. The answer is...
We don't know.
We don't know because...
We have all these different ideas,
Yeah.
But COVID's really thrown us for a loop.
We'd love to go somewhere in Mexico or Jamaica or something, but she doesn't have a passport, and so she can't get one because none of the passport places are open, and sending it online or sending it through the mail, I've heard, is taking like 7-8 months to get a passport, and that wouldn't get it in time. So we're just going to figure it out. If you have any ideas for us, drop them in the comment section or shoot me a DM for USA, I guess Hawaii. Alaska's too cold in January. Anywhere in January you think is good for a honeymoon? Maybe the Florida Keys? Drop us some suggestions because that would be fun. And then so now we'll talk about kind of our current future, or soon future. So
soon future.
I graduated college. I'm doing YouTube and now podcasting full time. Hannah, you are still in school. So now we're going to get into the part of the podcast that's all about using your gifts for good. So Hannah's gift is loving people and helping people. I think that's one of your biggest gifts that God has given you. So talk about what major you had in college, what you're doing in grad school, and how you're going to hopefully help people through that.
Yes. So I graduated from Baylor University this last May with a degree in speech pathology, and now I am still at Baylor getting my master's in speech pathology. And yeah.
Now, what if all the viewers watching that don't know what speech pathology is? What is it?
Speech pathology is a career path where you can go into either a hospital or school and help people with speech, language, swallowing difficulties. So that is my area of interest. I'm not sure exactly the route that I want to go. I just really love to help people. And so throughout grad school, I have all these different rotations that I'm really excited to try and just see where the Lord leads me and wants to place me in life. So I could work in a school and be with little kids. I could work with adults. I just love people and I love to help people. And I love grad school so far. I'm online this summer, so I've been working on it a little bit while we've been at the beach. And so in January, when we get married, we'll be living in Waco a little bit longer.
For about 8 months?
For about 8 months, and then we'll move somewhere. Depending on my externship, probably Dallas, hopefully. And so then hopefully after I graduate, I'll be working as a speech language pathologist wherever the Lord leads me.
Good.
It's
what
a fun time.
Yeah, Hannah's, I mean, I'll just finish by saying this. Hannah's so sweet and so kind, and speech pathology fits her so well. College is important. I mean, we could talk forever about college. I chose A&M because I love the culture. She chose Baylor because it was kind of a family thing.
It was a family thing.
And you love the culture of Baylor as well.
And how
intentional the professors are. Yeah, I never had great professors. I have a few good ones at A&M, but I was there because A&M as a school is dope. You were there at Baylor because you liked professors, and just the whole culture is so focused around Christ, which is super cool.
Very similar to what I grew up with in Dallas, and my mom also went to Baylor. So we're just a Baylor family. I have a twin brother who also goes to Baylor and a little sister, or who went to
graduated.
He went to Baylor,
well.
Graduated. My sister's now a senior at Baylor, and I just love my family, and it's so fun to be close to them. And we love Baylor. Go Bears. Sick 'em.
Sick 'em and gig 'em Ags.
Sick 'em and gig 'em.
All the M's.
All the M's.
And are we gonna be leaving Texas anytime soon?
Are we going to be leaving Texas anytime soon? Probably not.
Probably not. Texas is the best.
Probably never.
And you can't argue me.
Yeah.
To leave a dislike if you decide. Actually, don't. I don't like dislikes. Leave a like. If you like any other. Yeah, I guess dislikes are mean. But I love Texas. She loves Texas. We both grew up here. Hopefully gonna move to North Dallas or somewhere around the area there after a little bit of marriage. Hopefully build a house in the next few years. And I can have a shed where I keep my bass boat and a shop where I can hang up all my tackle and have a cool place to film videos for y'all. And also some awesome lakes in that North Dallas area, Oklahoma, East Texas. Super cool place to go film. And that's probably it for our podcast. Any closing things you can think about or what we missed?
I just love you.
Yeah, I just love you too.
And yeah, anything that you think about?
I mean, anybody watching this that is struggling with wanting a relationship like we have. Of course, we're not perfect, but we do emit a lot of joy, and that doesn't come from us. That comes from Jesus Christ. And so if you watch this whole podcast and you are not a believer in Christ, what that means is that God wants a relationship with us. As his creation, we are his prized creation. God created the earth and everything in it, and then he created us because he wanted us to take care of the earth. And we messed up. Adam sinned, and he brought sin into the world, and sin is anything that separates us from God. Because God is perfect, he can't be around things that are not perfect, and of course, we're not perfect. As Hannah Montana said, nobody's perfect.
But thankfully, Jesus has bridged that gap for us.
Yes.
And we are strong believers in what he did for us on the cross and how he saved us. And we want to emit that from our relationship.
Yeah. And hopefully
Is that the right word?
Emit, I think so.
Emit?
And hopefully you saw that. And if you're curious, how do I get a relationship with Jesus? Your relationship sounds awesome with each other and with Christ. What does that look like? You have to admit that you are a sinner, that you do bad things, because we both do. I admit that every day, and I ask for forgiveness every day. And you must ask God, hey, I admit that I do bad things. Please come into my life, take the sin away, allow me to want to follow you. I believe that Jesus is the only way to heaven, as the Bible says. He's the sacrifice Jesus made on that cross, dying for us, is the only way to get to heaven. And so once you accept that you're a sinner, believe that Christ is the only way, and choose to follow him and live a new life, then you will inherit eternal life. And Christian life is not easy.
Yeah.
Staying in someone else's house when you're dating is not easy. Not traveling together before marriage, because you have to, of course, either buy separate hotel rooms, but that it gets tricky. And I would love to take her to New York, but we're not married yet. I'd love to take her to Minnesota, but we're not married yet. It's hard.
We look different.
We look different.
And there's going to be people who watch this who think what we do is weird.
Is weird or dumb.
Weird, dumb.
Yeah.
And just, we don't look like the world. And we're going to receive criticism for that. Yeah. And we're going to have people think in their heads, well, they're weird. Yeah. Why they're sitting down talking about Jesus in a podcast and all these weird things that they do to stay pure. And but it brings us so much joy, and this is how life is meant to be lived. And it's just so cool to live life in so much freedom.
Yeah. And it's crazy that you think, oh, we Christians are a bunch of rule followers. You don't have any freedom. In the pursuit of following Christ and living your life in that way, it's not rules. It's a lifestyle that brings freedom because it's the way God intended it for it to be. So I just want to encourage any of you guys watching that are living a Christian life. It is so worth it. Continue the fight. I'm always open on Instagram for any sort of DM questions. I'm sure Hannah would be as well for any of you ladies watching or listening, because we just want to be resources for y'all to be followers of Christ and to be encouraged. So hopefully this podcast was encouraging. Yeah. I loved it.
I loved it too.
What a time.
And I just hope that anyone listening who feels like they're not good enough knows that Jesus died for everyone. We're not perfect, not even close. No. And whatever you've done in your past, God can forgive that. Yeah. Like he's forgiven me, like he's forgiven Tyler. He's forgiven both of us. Yeah. We're not perfect.
Exactly.
And Christ forgives and he changes lives. Yeah. And
well said. Well, everybody, thanks for watching the On Deck podcast and listening as well on Spotify. Make sure you guys leave us on Apple Podcasts a 5-star review, because I have some awesome guests coming up. We got Alton Jones Jr. We got, who else do we got? Myself talking about my sponsorship journey. We're going to have myself talking about my whole life YouTube journey. We've got a guy named David Ridley, who's the owner of Waco Tours, a super cool company in Waco. Hopefully we're going to have Chip Gaines in the future. Chip, please come on podcast. Steph Curry, Jesus, everybody, they're going to come on the podcast. Yeah. Not Jesus. I'm just kidding about that one. But thank you guys so much for joining. It means so much that you will support the channel in the monetary way. And we'll see y'all and hear y'all next time on TRF On Deck.
And I'm so honored to be on this.
Oh, yes. Hannah's going to be... She'll be back. She'll be back for sure. After marriage, we'll talk about the honeymoon. We'll talk about her. Maybe we'll catch a new PB sometime.
Maybe.
We'll talk about it.
Maybe.
So, thanks for coming. I love you.
Thanks for having me. I love you.
And, got my microphone.
Oopsies.
See y'all next time on Deck.